Hi, everyone. This is our criminal justice presentation on juvenile rehabilitation. Today we have myself, Tia Glaspie, Pamela Carrion, and Megan Frost.
A juvenile offender is defined as anyone under 18 who is charged with a criminal act. In 2019, there were over 240 instances of youth being detained, arrested, or both in the juvenile justice system. In addition to the harm confinement causes, it does nothing to deter the youth from offending, from the desire to offend, and from the stigma associated with criminalization. Rather than rehabilitating youth, confinement has short-term and long-term consequences on physical and mental health, development, and education. Juvenile offenders who have a history of being confined or in juvenile detention experience high rates of rearrest, new adjudications and convictions, and reincarceration. The over-reliance on youth incarceration is a systematic issue that needs reform. Removing juvenile offenders from their homes, schools, and communities and placing them in institutions is most often counterproductive. The juvenile justice system has structural implications, such as racial inequality and the concentration on poverty, which influences the formal course of action that youth take throughout the juvenile justice system. Racial disparities in the juvenile justice system, more commonly known as disproportionate minority contact or DMCs, are the overrepresentation, disparity, and disproportionate number of youth of color entering and moving deeper into the juvenile justice system. McCory and Pearson, 2019, found that Black youth committed fewer offenses before arrest than white youth. Black and Latino youth were more likely to be formally processed, and Black youth were most likely to be rearrested. These statistics highlight that minority youth are overrepresented in the juvenile justice system, despite similar or lower levels of criminal behavior. Historical implications of the juvenile justice system's use of confinement suggest that it fails to meet the development and criminogenic needs of youth offenders. Recent research states that to achieve the best outcomes for youth offenders, community-based, empirically supported intervention practices must be adopted as an alternative to incarceration wherever possible.
In reviewing the literature, there are several key concepts. This includes a common theme centered around the idea of punishment versus rehabilitation. Lipsey, 2009, distinguished rehabilitation from punishment interventions, which includes incarceration, and that rehabilitation aims to develop human and society capital, while punishment-related approaches focus on securing conformity through surveillance and punitive sanctions. Moreover, much of the literature has highlighted the effectiveness of punishment versus rehabilitation, revealing that rehabilitation programs are more effective and that they address the root causes and reduce recidivism at higher rates than punishment interventions. The literature also highlighted several factors that contribute to the effectiveness of each. These include the nature of the offense, individual characteristics such as age and mental health status, societal and cultural factors, and funding and resources. The literature also highlighted the concept of restorative justice. Much of the research, including Kimbrough et al. 2023, described restorative justice as a framework for navigating juveniles, and it aims to promote healing and growth among the youth, any involved parties, and the community. This may include victim-offender dialogue, group conferencing, and peacemaker circles. There have been several attempts made through different interventions aimed toward juvenile rehabilitation. A primary attempt has been therapeutic services. This includes individual therapy and family-based therapy. A 2023 meta-analysis by Pappas and Dent revealed that multisystemic therapy, also known as MST, family-based treatment, and CBT were all effective in reducing recidivism within offenders, with MST being the most effective. MST is an intensive treatment modality that involves youth, families, caseworkers, and therapists to address behavior problems and has been found to reduce out-of-home placement and reoffending. The biggest critique of therapeutic interventions is that they don't always address the factors that are directly related to juveniles offending. Another attempt is social skills training. The lack of social skills is associated with higher risk of offending and reoffending. Therefore, social skills are often targeted with juveniles. Social skills training builds skills for youth to respond appropriately in social environments, deal with stressful situations, and prevent conflict. Although this type of training is effective, Stewie et al. 2021 notes that social skills training is too generic of an approach because the complex factors that contribute to juvenile offending are only partially targeted. Because of this, some research has shown social skills training to be only moderately effective. Mentorship programs are another notable attempt to address juvenile rehabilitation. These programs involve pairing juveniles with positive adult role models who often have their own relatable life experiences. Studies have shown these programs to be effective in both preventing and reducing delinquent behaviors. Although these programs have shown to be effective, there are also challenges. Participation in these types of programs can be harmful to youth under certain conditions, including the mentorship ending prematurely and mentors failing to follow through on basic expectations within the relationship.
We chose to look at critical race theory, also CRT, to deal with the issue of juvenile rehabilitation. CRT has three main ideas. Racism is an essential element of American culture. Racism as a social construct, meaning individuals are limited in their free agency because they are bound by their particular social class. And laws have legitimized the hierarchy of race, class, and gender inequalities. CRT considers racism to be systematic in various rules and regulations of society, and not only based on individual prejudice and biases. Proponents of CRT explain how the social condition of inequality is driven by racist, human, and judicial violation, which gives constitutional case law a rigidly conservative structure. CRT holds that racism is inherent in the law and legal institutions of the U.S. They function to create and maintain social, economic, and political inequalities between whites and non-whites, especially for African Americans. Why we chose CRT to address this issue. Efforts to address racism and oppression must acknowledge intersectionality. This is done by actively embracing the unique context, voices, and narratives of people of color that have been historically ignored by the dominant racial group. The main goals of the juvenile justice system have been compromised due to the historical context of racial oppression. This is consistent with the trend of disproportionate minority contact, meaning youth of color are more prominent than white youths. Implementing CRT to address the issue. Through a CRT perspective, trauma-informed practice can provide a new framework. Trauma-focused strategies will assist youths of color to process traumatic experiences. Using trauma-informed care will assist youths with rehabilitating the negative and self-defeating behaviors they have experienced. A trauma-informed approach means individuals in contact with juvenile youths must shift their perspectives of youths of color. The main components of trauma-informed practice align with the principles of CRT. These principles are a powerful method of addressing the needs of the youth of color in the juvenile justice system. Staff are encouraged to model appropriate self-regulation, anticipate youth trauma reactions, remain cautious regarding triggers, and provide culturally appropriate interventions. Regular staff training on trauma and cultural competence is an important component of improving outcomes for adjudicated youth of color. Research should further explore trauma-focused interventions for adjudicated youth that are also culturally appropriate. This will expand our knowledge of evidence-based rehabilitative options for improving youth social and emotional functioning. Here is one page of the research that we conducted in our references. Here's an additional page of references for individuals that would like to explore more on the topic. Tia, Megan, and I thank you for joining our presentation and hope that you enjoyed. Thank you.